Hello everyone, it's Mark with Launchpad B, and I'm coming at you today with a tutorial that's a little different. Now, a lot of the video that I post has to do with using a cell phone to shoot videography. Well, as it turns out, a lot of the clients that I've worked with and the people that I talk to regularly here on LinkedIn that are interested in creating video content already own at least a DSLR camera. So today's video will be about setting up a talking headshot using a basic DSLR, and I'll talk about how to light it, I'll talk about how to frame it, and I'll also talk about how to set up your camera to get the best out of it. Now, right away, I want to throw out any misconceptions or any wrong ideas about how to use a DSLR. You don't need to shoot in manual. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are very much purist. They feel that shooting in manual mode is the best way to go. They only shoot in manual because they're awesome. Kudos to you. I will tell you this. As a professional videographer, I don't always shoot in manual mode. It's very rare that I actually shoot in manual mode. You don't have to. Cameras are smart enough nowadays to make a lot of the decisions for you. The only time that you have to switch to manual mode is if you're trying to overwrite the camera. Let's say, for example, you're shooting a sunset and the colors are very vivid, but when you're trying to take a video or a photo of it, the camera's trying to change the colors. It's trying to adjust the white balance because it doesn't understand that you want it to be that way. But for the most part, using the camera in its default settings is just fine. Now, when it comes to selecting a DSLR camera for yourself, more expensive isn't necessarily better. This is a camera that's basically a hobbyist camera. It's the type of camera you would get your high school kid when you're taking a photography class. Not too expensive. I actually picked this up at a pawn shop for less than 200 bucks. My only word of caution if you're pawn shop hunting is to take the lens off, take a look inside, verify that the mirror is clean. The other thing I would do is use it to make sure it works, and then take a photo of a solid white background. Then you'll inspect the image to see if there's any kind of specks or dust. That'll let you know whether or not your sensor is dirty. Now, if you've made the investment on a DSLR, I'm hoping that you'll also be willing to make an investment on a very basic, inexpensive tripod and an inexpensive ring light. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through setting up the camera, a couple of basic adjustments, and then we'll go from there and we'll transition to working on lighting. Now, like I've done in other tutorials to date, I'm setting myself up in the middle of my living room using this chair here. I don't want a chair that's too big, too overwhelming. It'll basically suck you up. And I like having a lot of open space behind me, which leads me to this example here. You don't want to put yourself in front of a wall, so it kind of flattens you out and puts you in a spot where you're not maybe as flattering. You also get a lot of echo out of the room, which you can hear when I'm talking here. So you definitely want to have a big, airy room. It gives you a lot more to look at in the background. It makes it more of an interesting shot. Now, when it comes to positioning the light, I always position it at 45 degrees. Now, the main light source is the windows in the back. You'll always want to place your light so that it's complementing the light that's already coming in. Now, when I position the camera, I'm going to make sure that the light is close to me, but not in the shot. I also want to make sure that the light is set to a setting that it's not too bright, or it's going to wash out all the detail on one side of my face. So now we're going to position the tripod, and I'm going to put it directly in front of the chair. Pretty much no brainer, right? And we're going to set the camera so that it's conversation level with my face. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take it out of manual mode, and we're going to take it all the way down to video. For some reason, this camera only offers me that one setting. Let's go ahead and switch the camera into the on position. So the amount of control that I'm given in video mode on this particular camera are very limited, but we do have some control. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this Q. Now, this is for Canon. It'll be different on other cameras. And on the side, we have a couple of options. So what I'm going to go to first is going to be the white balance. And we can go ahead and take a look at the different options. Now, most cameras you're going to get auto white balance. What's happening in my particular room is it looks very orange when I do that. So if I cycle through, I want to find a white balance that's a little more natural, which tungsten light for some reason works a lot better in this room. Now, this camera does have the ability to shoot at 1080 or full resolution at 30 frames, which is what I'm going to go ahead and shoot at. So when it comes to investing in a ring light, there's a couple of things you look for. Number one is the ability to brighten and darken the light. The other thing that's important to me is the ability to change color temperature. And there's a button here I can push, and now I can make the light more red, or I can make the light more blue, depending on the situation. And this will really help you with getting the shot right. I tell a lot of people when you're shooting video, it's ideal to get your color right when you're shooting rather than having to fix it after the fact. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and find a nice neutral middle ground. which to me will probably be somewhere around 4,000. So once I'm ready to record video, I'm simply going to hit the record button, and then I'm going to go get into position in front of the camera. So now that everything is set up, you got yourself positioned in front of the camera, you got your lighting, you got yourself in a nice conversational position, you're now ready to shoot the content. Now you're going to want to review your video to verify that it looks good. For example, is my jacket too dark? Is it blending into the background? Maybe I need to remove it. The bottom line is you're going to want to play with the framing, you're going to want to adjust it, do several takes, get comfortable with it, and find something that works for you. I appreciate you watching this tutorial, and like before, please don't hesitate to reach out should you have any questions.